Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm delighted that you can be with us today. My dear ones, our very special guest today is everybody's favorite Seek Reality guest. He was our very first guest back in the summer of 2013 when we all got started here, and he has been with us faithfully 4 or 5 times each year ever since. Dr. R. Craig Hogan is, as you know, probably the world's leading expert on death and the afterlife. He teaches and keynotes all over the world. He puts out a popular monthly newsletter. He heads the Seek Reality online website, which is, of course, the world's biggest and most important afterlife-related website. He has written some very important books on the subject and related subjects, and he does a regular video educational series. Craig is very big indeed in the afterlife field, and it was Craig who first urged me to write The Fun of Dying 15 years ago. And then, of course, all the fun books followed. After that first one, Craig urged me to do it all. Craig Hogan and I have been besties in this field for forever at this point. He has supported us tremendously here at Seek Reality, always eager to come back. I don't think he's ever said no. So 3 or 4 times a year, 5 times a year, I just say, hey, Craig, it's time to come back. And he says, okay, what are we going to talk about? Always he has something new to say, so just wait until you see what he's up to now. I'm not even sure this is going to work. We've been trying it. Very appropriately, Craig is going to try something very old and still very new and exciting for us today in the field of afterlife communication. He's going to talk with us about and share some work of one of the classics in this field, the medium, Leslie Flint. So, Craig, welcome. I'm so excited to have you back again.
No, Roberta, it's such a delight to be here. I'm looking forward to today. We're going to talk about Leslie Flint, and that's a wonderful topic, so I'm anxious to get into it.
Well, first tell people, who is Leslie Flint?
Leslie Flint was a direct voice medium from the 20th century. He passed away in 1995. Flint had this remarkable ability. He would sit in a room, and the people from the afterlife would come into the room. They would speak through an ectoplasmic voice box that formed on his shoulder. An ectoplasm is a substance that comes out of the medium's body. And it's rather like phlegm, but it comes out of the medium's body and then can take on all forms that the scientists, those who are working with Leslie Flint on the other side, make it assume. So ectoplasm...
Let's envision this here. Mm-hmm. It's like phlegm, but can you see it? But it would be sitting on his shoulder.
Yes. Right. We have a photograph of it. Right. So it's sitting on his left shoulder, and it doesn't look like a voice box. I mean, it just looks like a blob. But you know that, it's sitting on his left shoulder, comes out of his body, and it can come, ectoplasm comes from any orifice. So it can come out of the navel, it can come out of the mouth, it can come out of all other forms of orifices on the body. And then it forms into a voice box. So it forms, it breathes in and out so that it can move air over the vocal cords. It has vocal cords in it. It has a sinus cavity. It has lips and tongue and all of the other things, and you can't see those. It just looks like a blob. But everything is there to produce a voice.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm excited about this because it fascinates me. And so, was he in trance when this was happening?
At first he was. In the early parts of his career, he was in trance. But after that, then he was completely alive, awake. He was talking to the sitters, talking to the people there, and as the things were coming through that voice box. So he was clearly separate from the voice box. But
this is more boggling than you make it sound, because the voice box, the being which nobody could see, was able to make the voice box to model it, to make it to be able to sound like them.
It's a part of it. Yeah.
The talker.
Yeah.
I mean, just trying to make people understand just how boggling this was. This voice box, including mouth, lips, and so on, when the person started talking, it would sound the way they sounded when they were alive. I mean,
Yes.
I have a recording, and you sent it to me again, of Thomas Jefferson, and I have met with him in the afterlife when he was talking, and he sounds in Leslie Flint's recording just the way he sounds in the afterlife. You
Yeah.
can hear Thomas Jefferson talking, I swear, the way he sounded when he was alive. It's so boggling.
Yeah, it is boggling. And the scientists on the other side are able to do that. And it's through a process we don't understand.
No.
So they are able to create that voice box. And the person then on the other side who comes into the area where the recordings are going to be made, and they project their thoughts into what they call the box. And so they project their thoughts into the box, and then the thoughts then come out as voice. And the voice matches the voice of the person who was here on Earth. They have the intonations, the vocabulary, and of course it has all the memories and all of the other things that have to do with that person. And it comes out as normal conversation, just like you would be speaking to them in the same room. And then what happens is that Flint and the sitters with him would ask questions. And then the person would just respond to them. And through the voice box, it sounds like they're standing in front of a microphone. And it's so clear and it's so easy to understand that people can't believe that that's true. They immediately think that it's fraud, that there's something wrong with it. And Leslie Flint was tested hundreds of times. He called himself the most tested medium that ever lived. And they would do everything to him. They would put a throat microphone on so that if he said anything, then it would be registered on the throat microphone. They put elastoplast surgical bandage across his mouth. They put colored liquid in his mouth before they put the elastoplast on, and he had to spit that out at the end of it to show that he had not consumed the liquid or was not speaking through the liquid. And then they tied his arms to the chair. They tied his legs to the chair. There was no way that anything was going to be happening. And the voices came in spite of that. There was no difficulty. We have the evidence, the fact that he was a conduit, that people were speaking through him from the afterlife. And all of the loved ones who came through, the fathers and mothers and the children, and they would say, yes, that is my loved one. They would have conversations for 45 minutes to an hour.
Sounded like the person.
Yeah, and it was the person. I mean, there's no doubt about the fact. And so that they certified that it was their loved one who's coming through.
Talking.
And they wouldn't have been able to have those conversations if it had been Flint for pretending to be that person or something like that.
But it was the personality of the person, too.
The personality, all the memories, everything. And in fact, what I'm going to be playing for you today is a woman who came through from the afterlife to her husband, and she would tell him what he was doing the day before, what he was doing on the way up there to meet with Flint. And so obviously she was with him, and these are things Flint would not have known. So, but it's really exciting. We have never ever had a direct voice medium. It's called direct voice, meaning the voice comes out and you can hear it in the air. There has been no direct voice medium with his talent, since then, and there never was really before that. Although materialization medium.
It's so rare.
It's so rare. It's so rare, yeah. So direct voice mediums, materialization mediums can sit in a room and someone will materialize using ectoplasm and will come out and will speak to people in the room. And so then they're using the same kind of a phenomenon. It's direct voice kind of phenomenon with a full apparition with the whole person there. So we do have those, and there are some people who are alive today who are doing materialization mediumship. Then they are still doing it, but there is no direct voice medium of the caliber of Leslie Flint. So we hope we have another one come along soon.
Do we know why they're so rare?
No, we don't know why they're so rare. We don't know why it's so difficult to get a direct voice medium. And you can't cultivate them. You can't just pick somebody up off the street and say, we're going to make you into a direct voice medium.
You can't train them.
It has to be born into them. It's a natural thing. And Flint, actually, when he was young, he was an usher in the theater. And after a while, they had to tell him he couldn't be an usher anymore because the voices kept coming. As soon as the lights went down, then the voices would come out into the theater. And they had to terminate him because of the fact that he was a direct voice medium and all these voices were coming out.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So we have we have over 2,000 recordings today. And these recordings are 45 minutes to an hour long of people from the afterlife coming into the room, speaking with Flint and speaking with their loved ones who are sitting there. And they say, yes, absolutely, that is my son. That is my daughter. That is my husband.
But the voices are very accurate.
The voices are very accurate. Very clear to understand.
Thomas Jefferson talking again.
Yeah.
His voice is just, you would not, I mean, I can't tell you, it gives you chills.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And so we haven't had another one. We're hoping that we can cultivate another one, that somebody else will come along and being able to do that. But today, technology has taken over. So we're getting things through technology, through recordings that are similar to that, but they're not using a voice box. And so we're getting the voices of people coming through audio recordings, for instance. So we get the audio recordings of them, but they don't materialize in the room. They are projecting their thoughts into electromagnetism, so it goes on to the audio recording, and then we can play it back and we can hear the voice. But it's not so long as these that were in the Leslie Flint seances, because these that we're getting today in audio recordings are maybe a couple or three sentences at length, and then you would ask another question, you get a couple or three sentences, and that's it. So Leslie Flint was unique, and we've got his recordings. We've got 2,000 of his recordings today that we can listen to.
People are wondering, why aren't these more widely known? Why? Why don't people know about these?
Yeah, it's just because, and that's true even among the spiritualists today, even among those who are part of the spiritualist church, they just don't know who Leslie Flint was. And it's because of the fact that people don't want to slow down long enough to listen and to understand what it is that's going on. If we just sit down and take a look at the evidence, take a look at these recordings that we've got, then you will mature in your ability to understand the afterlife, the life after this life, and what happens to us there, and what people are doing there. And so there's so much of that that's available today if people just look at it. It's just like Galileo, that the scientists and the clergy wouldn't look through his telescope to see that Jupiter had moons, and that Venus went through phases, and that there were craters on our moon, and people just wouldn't look through the telescope. That's what's happening today. So we can't get people to just look at these, just listen to these recordings. And so we're trying to bring them to
on seekreality.com where people can go and hear these.
Yes, they're on seekreality.com. And I have a number of different recordings. So I probably have 10 or 15 recordings on seekreality.com. So if somebody wants to get on there, and actually as I play them today, I'm going to play them for you, then I'm taking those off of seekreality.com. So I'm going to be playing what is available there. If someone wants to get on and listen to these recordings, they're marvelous recordings.
Okay, well, give us a little hint of what can be found there if people just want to go and listen.
Okay, so let me stop for a moment, and I'm going to share screen. And this is always a complicated process because I've got to get all the windows right on my screen.
We've never done this, by the way, everyone. So we're just going to try to do this now.
Yeah,
and hopefully Sam can sort of edit out our clumsiness.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll try not to get bumpy. Okay. So here's one that this is from a woman named Annie Nanji. Annie and Dr. Nanji, Dr. Dinshaw Nanji. Dr. Dinshaw Nanji was a professor at Birmingham University in the UK. And he's very well known. He's got published articles, and so you can look up his articles. And he would come into Leslie Flint's flat and would sit with Leslie Flint, and he did this every 6 months for years. And when he sat in the flat, just he and Leslie Flint were sitting in the room, and his wife Annie would come through. Annie and Dr. Dinshaw Nanji had been married for a number of years, and she passed away then in 1966 from cancer. And he was devastated, of course, when she passed away. And he found Flint, and Flint was able to make this connection with his Annie, who was in spirit. So in the room now are Dinshaw Nanji and Leslie Flint, and those are the only two in the room. And Annie's going to come through. So you're going to hear, here is the transcript of it. You're going to hear wife is Annie Nanji, who is not in the room. She's in spirit. And then you're going to hear husband, who is Dr. Dinshaw Nanji. And this is the actual conversations that they had.
You have got my ring in your pocket.
Yes.
And also the lock of hair.
Yes, everything concerning she is with me.
All the various things associated with us both.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a flavor for what it's going to be like. And she didn't, when he came into this session with Leslie Flint, he had put her ring in his pocket. She knew that, and she actually commented about it. So she saw him, and she was with him before he came into the session. And so that was her speaking about that lock of hair that he has in his pocket. So do you have any questions about that?
No, I mean, essentially, she's with him a lot.
Yeah, she's with him all day long. She was dedicated. Among the people who might have come through in various forms that we have come through from the afterlife, she is the one who is most dedicated to Dr. Nanji. She spends all day long with him. She goes in and out with him. She goes to conferences with him. She sits in the audience with him. She sees him as he's walking down the street. So she spends her whole life with him. And this is a unique opportunity because now she is able to come through in Leslie Flint and describe what's going on in his life so that we know that that she is very much alive. She is with him all day long, and nobody could have faked that because nobody would have known all these things about their lives together.
Right.
So, let me play another one for you. This is Annie comes into Dr. Nanji's flat at night, and she taps to let him know that she's there. And this is their conversation about it.
You know, I hear your tapping.
Good.
And I'm surprised at myself that I can hear it.
I always know when you hear,
Yes.
because you always acknowledge it,
Yes, exactly.
and you always say, thank you, darling.
Yes, I know.
And I try again.
Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Isn't it marvelous?
It goes right on as if she had gone nowhere.
Yeah. She's right there. She's in the room with them, but she's unseen. And what she's doing is projecting her thoughts into the box that they as they say it. And so she projects her thoughts into the box, and they come out as her voice. He says that is exactly what she sounded like. That is her voice. All of the memories are the same. And so she's with him all day long, and she knows what she's in his flat with him. He couldn't get away with anything. I mean, she's with him. And so there's a book called "Do Dead People See You When You're Showering?" And
they sure do.
Yeah, they sure do. I mean, they can come in and look at you when you're taking a shower or whatever it is that you're doing. Yep. And so she spends the time with him, going with him to places. This is where she goes to he has an old tattered hat, and she tells him that she wants him to buy a new hat.
You know, I don't like to part with anything which you bought.
I know, but you are wearing all those old hats.
Yes.
And I think you could do with a new hat.
Yes.
I noticed that you keep wearing the same old hat. And I think it is time you have a new one. So you can buy yourself a new hat and say that I bought it for your Christmas.
Oh, how sweet.
Isn't that marvelous? Yeah.
Yes.
That's wonderful. And
yes.
So this is another one. Dr. Nanji has pictures in his flat, in their flat. It was where they lived together. And she remarks about the pictures, and she wants her to change. She wants him to change.
I don't have to tell you. I am with you constantly.
Yes, Daddy.
Every day I come and spend some time with you,
Yes.
especially in the evening
Yes.
when you are quiet
Yes, Daddy.
in the apartment.
Yes, Daddy.
Everything is very much the same. You have not altered anything very much.
No, Daddy.
And you're going to put the pictures over the bed,
Yes, Daddy.
just as we would wish, huh?
Yes.
So then 6 months later, he comes back and he has changed the pictures, and now he says that she says that she's delighted with the pictures.
I am so thrilled with the pictures.
Yeah.
You have got them in a very good prominent position.
Yes.
And you know, sometimes you see the light around them,
Yes.
the light around the pictures.
Yes, I do.
Good. I do little things, you know, to try to tell you I am there.
Yes.
Little things.
Yes, I know.
Things.
Isn't that marvelous? So what that does is to demonstrate that Annie is very much alive, and she is in his life. She's able to come around to where he is. Now, when we say come around, people in the life after this life are able to materialize in forms. We have accounts of people materializing. Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross had someone materialize and speak to her and spend time with her, and Raymond Moody had someone materialize, and J.B. Phillips, the translator of the English New Testament, had someone materialize. So all of these people have people materialize, so they actually are there, and you can see them, and they talk, and so that's one form. But this is different. She is not necessarily materializing in the room. She can project these voices from wherever she is.
Right.
So in other words, then she doesn't have to be there. But from what we can understand, she is there. So she actually enters the room with him. And so then she is speaking in the room by projecting her thoughts into the box, and they come out as her voice. And she does that every 6 months.
Craig.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, just look at what a comfort this is to people who have missed a spouse. Their spouse too is gone, but when they see this couple interacting this way, they think, yes, my wife, my husband is also with me. They're with me in the evening. They're with me. They're watching me. Yes, these little things that I'm doing, they're seeing.
Yes.
And yes, they're making these little sounds. They're close to me. A lot of times they would like to make more little sounds or little, move things, do little things, but they don't want to frighten us, so they don't. But if they could confirm to us, yes, I did this or I did that, yes, they would do more things.
Yeah.
So speak to your spouse. If your spouse has recently transitioned, say, darling, I know you're here, and it's okay if you do this or you do that little thing, because I'll understand that it's you communicating with me. Talk to your spouse. Say, I love the fact that you're here close to me. I can feel that you're close. And you also can communicate with your spouse, even though they're not there in the physical. They're right with you, just as this couple are able to communicate, because fortunately they happen to know Leslie Flint and they can communicate through him. Oh, yeah. I wish this were just more commonly known.
Yeah, it's true.
This is.
And people do get signs and they ignore them. But if you have a sign, if something happens in your life and you see a license plate that reminds you of a number that you keep seeing,
speak aloud to your spouse. Don't just
speak aloud to them.
Speak aloud to them.
As soon as you see something like that license plate that keeps coming up, if it immediately comes to you that it is them, that's the message. So
yes.
in other words, You'll see license plates all day long. You'll see numbers all day long. They don't mean anything to you, but as soon as you see one and you think immediately, oh, George, oh, Anne, and you immediately think of that person, that means that is the sign that came from them.
It does.
People will get the signs. Yeah. You'll get the signs, and all you have to do then is stop and say something. Just talk. Just talk to them.
Speak to them, because that makes that connection stronger that you still have with them.
So they are available to communicate. So they're always available to communicate.
Always.
All you have to do is say, George, I want to talk to you for a minute. They will come to you. They don't necessarily come into the room. They will come to you in mentally from wherever they are. So it's not holding them back when you want to speak to them. It doesn't keep them from doing what they're doing. They continue with what they're doing. It's just like they were in another room and you speak to them. And that doesn't keep them from doing whatever they're doing in that other room. So we can speak to our loved ones in the life after this life, and they will respond. That's the reason that we put together the training program that is free online. It's self-guided afterlife communications. That's on afterlifeinstitute.org. It's because people can have their own afterlife communications. Afterlife communications are very easy for people to have, and it's very common now. One method of having them is 98% successful. So all people have to do is to communicate with their loved ones, and they will respond. The first notion that comes to you is their response. So if you say something like, George, I've been thinking about whether I should move or not, immediately the first thing that comes to you is their response to that. If you have to wait, then you missed it. But they do respond, and people can get used to doing this, can get used to having communications like this with their loved one. Now, they're not voices in the air that we hear in Leslie Flint seances, but they are voices mentally that come to us. They communicate telepathically. So all we have to do is get used to that, allow that to bubble up from our subconscious into our conscious mind. And when you do that, some of the people who have gone through the training program have connections every day. They just sit down at a particular time and have a conversation with their loved one who's living in the afterlife.
It's remarkable how well this can work.
Yeah.
I have my husband is living, thank you God, and well, but I have this kind of relationship with my spirit guide, and it's such a rich relationship you can have with your spirit guide, with your loved one in spirit. It's it's the best to be able to talk with a being who is not currently in a body.
Yeah.
And we'll put in the notes to this program, we'll put the directions how to go to the so that you won't have to drive up the road to try to write down what Craig is saying. We'll put those directions in the notes to this program, so that you can go and practice some of the things he's talking about, because it's quite easy to learn.
It's very easy to learn.
Begin to have these relationships with people who are not currently in a body. Very easy.
Yeah. And they will come. So you don't have to worry about them being someplace where they're inaccessible, or that they've got things that they're doing that are more important than speaking to you. That is never true. They're anxious to talk. So anytime that you want to communicate, they will come to you. And I've heard some mediums say, I couldn't get through to them in this medium reading because they're unavailable. And what that means is the medium just couldn't make the connection. So it's the medium's problem. It isn't the person in spirit. Our loved ones will come through to us anytime we want them to come through. Anytime we ask them to come to us, they will come to us. So then if you say something to your loved one, they are there. So we know that to be true. Now the question is then, are you going to allow the messages to bubble up from your subconscious into your conscious mind? And because this is telepathy. And people have to get used to the fact that you're going to be talking to them in the same space where you normally think. So this is a private space. You've never ever had somebody in your thinking space thinking along with you. And so it's a very different way of communicating. But if you get used to that they come into your thinking space and they will communicate in your thinking space, then the messages will come very clear. You'll learn things that could not have originated with you. You did not think of that, whatever that was that came through from them. And after a while, you get used to that and you realize that it's true, and the communications just flow. And some people will be able to do this every day. They sit down and have a communication every single day.
And it's such an enjoyable way to have a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It truly, it does enrich your life so much. If it's someone that you loved when that person was in a body, the love continues. The love does not stop. The love can become richer and stronger even if the person is not in a body. And it's such a joyous way to continue your life when you have that person always with you.
I've had people who said, I have a better relationship with him now than I ever had on earth. We had too much baggage. There were too many things that were between us. But now that he's in spirit, we just communicate wonderfully. There's no problem. There is no anger. There's no jealousy. There's no problems between us. It's all full of love. And so these new relationships that people have with their loved one in the life after this life are more wonderful than the relationships they were having when they were on earth.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's with your spirit guide, if your spouse is still with us, or if it's with your spouse after the spouse has transitioned, whoever the relationships are with, it's just a glorious, glorious way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wonderful because you're never alone. You're truly never alone.
Yeah. Now, I have a longer one. I don't know whether you want to listen to a longer one. It'll be 2 or 3 minutes of
let's do it.
Okay,
let's
it's a Shakespeare.
I think this is very unusual for people to be hearing these. So great. Let's do it.
Okay, this is going to be from a Shakespearean actress and named Dame Elizabeth Alice Terry. She comes through and speaks from the afterlife in a Leslie Flint seance, and she describes what people, the message that she wants to give to people who are now concerned about their life in the life after this life, and whether they're going to be there, and whether their loved ones are there, and she reassures them about it.
I can only say this to you, to all those who may listen. There is no need to fear the crossing from your word to this. It is the great adventure. It is the great awakening into a greater world of loveliness and beauty and freedom of thought. Truly, this is a spiritual world, but not as man has depicted it. Indeed, it is so different and so tremendously alive, so vital, so tremendously, as it were, so far removed from man's conception of things that it cannot be depicted or described. One can only feel it and know it and sense it. It is so vast and so beautiful. Do not fear that passing from your happiness, or whatever condition of life you may enter, no matter how lowly it may be. It will be a reflection of your world, but according to its condition, according to your condition of passing, and particularly according to your development on having it, so you will find a condition that will apply to you and be best suited. And even though it may seem perhaps to some dark and drear according to their light, yet there is freedom to express and develop and evolve. Of course, we know there are the lower spheres, the undeveloped spheres where the undeveloped souls go. But even so, it is not a hell, as pictured by many who would have it so. There is no hell, only that which man himself creates by his own thinking and his own living. Here, that which man has created will change according to him, according to his striving and his uplifting himself from the darkness. Man dwells oft times in darkness of his own creating. As soon as he begins to desire the spark of life eternal, as soon as he is endeavoring to strive and uplift himself from the last sphere, so he will be helped and guided, given instruction and shown the path. No one need fear, for this is a world of love and true gratitude. And all who come will be shown the path and the way. There is no need for fear. For God truly is love, and this is a world of love in which all who dwell are seeking to uplift themselves from stage to stage in evolution to a greater sense of reality of power, spirit. All is good if man will but seek it and find it. Man will progress from the depths to the heights. All is here for man to experience joy. It is truly the life of the spirit, but it is a spiritual existence far removed from man's ideas and man's conception of things. For this is a world created by the thought and the beauty of expression, of life, that is so far removed from the material ideas and ideals. Be patient, but above all strive to overcome the worst self, endeavoring to see the clarity of vision, all that which is of God, truly of God, and cast aside all that which holds you back. Do not be afraid, for to have fear is a bad thing indeed. To have strength and faith and courage, and to lift up your eyes to the beauty of the spheres, this shall set you free. You will find truly the path and the way. There is no need for man to fear the consequences of death, for death is the great door through which all find the world of reality, the world of the spirit, the world everlasting. There is no death only that which seems so. The man himself has created death in ignorance and in foolishness. But one day he will find, as I and others have found, the way of truth, the way of life, the way of freedom, the path that leads to the gods.
What was she trying to do there? She just was trying to summarize for people.
She's trying to reassure people who were listening that there is no death.
That's quite beautiful.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful? She was a Shakespearean actress in the 19th century.
Yes.
And through the early 20th century. And when she came into Leslie Flint's session, she intended to help people to understand. That was her goal. That's what she wanted, to understand the fact that there is no death and there are no dead, that we continue to live. And it's a wonderful world full of love and full of light, and that we all should be looking forward to it as our next stage of our eternal lives.
Right. Mm-hmm. But she's so right that it's going to reflect to a great extent the kind of life you have lived. If you have not lived a life of love and joy and kindness and truth.
Yeah. And what it is it's our nature. So
you're gonna
if you lived a life full of love,
you're going to die.
So if you lived a life full of love, it's because you are loving. And so your nature is to be loving. Yeah. If you lived a life full of spite and anger and viciousness, then that is your nature. And it's your nature that then will put you into the place where you are in the life after this life. There is no hell, so there is no place of punishment. But there are lower regions. So there are regions in which people are together who think the same way. The cruel people who are self-absorbed, they're living together, and it's a little more dank. It's not so beautiful. It's not so bright as the upper levels. And they live together, and because they're creating that reality. It's no punishment that they're there. It's that they're creating it, and they will then eventually lift themselves out of it. And counselors go down to them and help them to lift themselves out, and eventually they will. So all people eventually come out of that level into level 3 or Summerland, which is where people normally go. We will go there when we transition. And that's just a beautiful world. It's a beautiful world full of love. So that's what Dame Alice Ellen Terry was describing.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you and I know very well and are very excited about where we intend to meet up and hold gigantic parties. Can hardly wait.
Yeah, and there are gigantic parties, and it's one of the things that people don't understand about it. When you go on to the next life, we all have bodies exactly as we do here. The bodies, though, are as we were in our 20s or 30s. They have
Yes.
no defects, there are no blemishes, there are no diseases, there are no hospitals, there are no physicians, and there are no police, there are no armies, any of those things. And so what will happen is that we will have these wonderful experiences. We'll come together in groups. So, it's like having cookouts. We'll have cookouts there with our loved ones, with our family, and we'll have speakers come in. Martin Luther will come in, yeah, and Yeshua, Jesus, will come in and speak to people in large crowds, beautiful, beautiful buildings and arenas where people come together. There are boats. People go boating. They will drive cars. Whatever it is their hobby was on life, they still are able to do there. Beautiful scenes of mountains and valleys and oceans and just a beautiful world. And they can go to anywhere they want. All they have to do is think about being there, and they're there. So it is a wonderful, beautiful world, and we can all look forward to it because we're all going to be there with our loved ones. This one wonderful, great, big party.
I tell people all of this, and they just think I'm being so silly, but it is so true.
Yeah, it is true.
So
All of it's true. And so we needn't fear the transition from this life to the next. It's, of course, it's like Woody Allen said, I don't mind dying. I just don't want to be there when it happens. And so that we will go through a transition, and it'll be a scary transition at the time. If we're
because we aren't used to the idea.
We're just not used to the idea, right? But we needn't fear it. We needn't fear death, and that's true of our loved ones. We know that our loved ones, as soon as they leave the body, then they are with us as long as they want to be, and then they go on to the next life just whenever they're ready. And they're always a thought away, so they don't leave and then can't come back. They get our thoughts, they get our feelings, and so they will communicate to us anytime we want to communicate with them. But then we leave the body behind, and the people who wake up on the other side, or they make the transition directly, then they say, I just don't know what happened. I was there 1 minute, and then I was here the next, and it was just it didn't take any effort at all. It just happened.
That's what my mother said. My mother said I was here.
Yeah.
I was where you are. And then I woke up the next morning and I was, and she said she woke up in the same room she'd gone to sleep in, to the point where she didn't believe they had to take her to a door, open the door and say, now, does this look like the same place you went to bed? And she said, no, it was totally different outdoors than where.
Yeah. Yeah.
And only then did she realize she had died.
Yeah, yeah.
She didn't believe it.
Yeah, because it's a very easy transition there. And there is no pain.
No pain.
So if a person was in pain in an automobile accident, then we have the accounts of people who were in automobile accidents and they were taken out of the body before the accident even happened.
Yes,
and so
that's always the case. They see it from above. Yeah, that's what Mikey Morgan said.
Yeah, yeah. And so we needn't fear the transition at the end of this life. It is a wonderful transition. And the people who are sick of bed and they've been in bed for a long time and they're
suddenly they're all better
from a cancer or something that they have. And so then they're sick of bed and they then will have their loved ones come into the room and they will speak to them. And so we have many of these deathbed visitors, the people who come in. They're ushering them over. They're helping them to make the transition into the next life. And so then they make an easy transition. They don't have to fear what's going to be coming up next. It's like looking through graduation day. And
the key word is love.
Yeah, the love.
We are loved more than we can possibly imagine. Yeah. And so everything about death is love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you are loved so much, nothing about it should be scary because it's meant to be so loving, so full of love.
Yeah. And people who in near-death experiences, they touch that. They just barely touch it with the ends of their
they
fingertips.
can't even imagine.
So they can, when they go into a near-death experience, the love, this being of love, this overwhelming feeling of love is indescribable. When we talk about the love that passeth all understanding, we use those words but don't think about it. When you think about it, this is love that we can't even really understand because it's so
imagine.
It's
but that's
so
what we're going back
deep.
to.
Yeah. So we can't really understand it, but they describe this when they come back from a near-death experience. They have touched with just their fingertips the life after this life. So that when we make the transition, when we actually go there, then we feel that. We know that that's true when we meet with our loved ones. Now, we don't change when we make the transition. So we are the same person the moment after as we were the moment before. And we'll be that way for days or years. The person will mature out of the earthly things, the burdens and the concerns and the selfish desires, and will grow out of that into a very comfortable, very loving disposition and understanding of life, and then they then will become changed people. So at first, the person may go over there and may be fearful of what was going on, and they may have difficulty understanding what's happened to them, but they very quickly begin to realize they understand where they are and what's happened to them. And then when they realize that, it's just joy.
It's just love and joy.
Love and joy. Just love and joy.
That's what the very air is that you breathe. Oh, my dear, we have gone so over our time.
Yeah.
So that's a good way for us to end this conversation, just with the fact that love and joy is what it's all about. Mm-hmm. So we may as well start now living in that love and joy so we're all ready for what's to come.
Yeah.
The great news is there's nothing but great news. Mm-hmm. There's nothing negative whatsoever about anything at all. So we're going to live in that. We may as well start living in it right now. Mm-hmm. Oh, my dear one, I do love you so much. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for such a wonderful time. This has been beautiful. Thank you for bringing all those nifty little snippets. So there's more of this on seekreality.com, right?
Yes, right. We have hundreds of them on seekreality.com.
Great. And the more people want to hear of them, therefore, the more of them we can put up. Oh, that's wonderful.
That's
Super.
it. That's it. Right.
Well, consider yourself hugged, my love.
Thank you. And you likewise.
And so I've got to tell everybody what's coming next week, and I'll be back. Oh, my dear. Hasn't this been fun? Oh, my goodness, everybody. So, as I say, I'll put into the notes, I'll put the things that Craig was telling us so that you can go and learn, if you'd like, how to do more communication directly, which I think is very important because you can learn to do this kind of communication when you're still in a body. You don't have to wait. My beloved friends, we've come to the end of our time together, but just until next week. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm so happy you could be with us today, especially. Please never forget, you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And when you get that and all its implications, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be our beautiful friend, Brian Smith, who will be with us for the third time. I first met Brian a decade ago when he had just lost his beautiful young daughter, Shayna. She had transitioned in her sleep when she was just 15. She had a rare disease. They knew she had it, but they thought she had outgrown it. Sadly, no. I was so impressed with Brian, I invited him to speak at a Unity church that I was kind of interim pastoring while they waited to find another pastor. And he and I became friends. He's since gone on to help to found and become active in the wonderful organization Helping Parents Heal. And he's an author now and an active podcaster and blogger. And you're going to love Brian as I do. So I hope you'll join us next week. And this week, our guest has been, our treasured eternal friend, Dr. R. Craig Hogan. He's been with us for the 49th time. He was our very first Seek Reality guest when we began in 2013, and he's been with us about 4 times a year ever since. Craig is the dean of all afterlife experts and teachers. And his primary website, seekreality.com, is your go-to place to have every afterlife question answered. I urge everybody to go and make seekreality.com a regular part of your life for the simple reason, frankly, whether you like it or not, your life is eternal, and you may as well learn as much as you can about where you're going, because the more you know about it, to be perfectly frank, the better you're going to live now, and the better you're going to live forever after. It's quite a transition. But the more you know about it, frankly, the easier, as you can, see, there's all this information available. Most people have no idea about it. Learn now, and it's going to be even more fun. The minute you get there, there's so much waiting for you. You just don't believe it. And of course, teachingsbyjesus.com is your best resource for all the beautiful divine truths that are brought to us in perfect love by the greatest teacher of them all, Master Jesus. Christianity, unfortunately, the religion, was not created by Jesus. It was created by the Roman Emperor Constantine more than 300 years after Jesus was resurrected, and it has very little to do with what Jesus taught. So until the religion goes away, most people are not going to find who Jesus really was, who Jesus still is. And Jesus is waiting politely for the religion to go away so he can finally bring us the truth. Teachingsbyjesus.com is waiting for us. And I'm frankly not supposed to do much with it until the religion dies away a little more. But the religion, until the religion goes away, Teachings by Jesus is ready for you now. So if you would like it, it's there. Also, as you know by now, I have nonfiction books, but I have no time to tell you about them because we've gone over our time. Oh, my dears. So this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you, most of all in this entire universe, you are infinitely, eternally, and perfectly loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.